Well, we've been talking a lot about attracting things into our life that we want in our life and how to make that happen. And we've been talking about health issues and being healthy versus being sick. Uh, how important do you think that setting is in everything? Like what surrounds you, your atmosphere, and all that. How important is all that?
I think it's vital. I mean, you can only make the changes that you can make, but I think it's vital because the most recent example I can give is when I lived in the other apartments. I was just this constant low-grade depression thing going on, and I didn't realize how much energy it was sucking out of me until I moved into here. Because the landlords wouldn't fix anything, and that constant leak in my bathroom for a year was making me nuts, water coming through the ceiling, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the same is true if you're around people, if you live in the same household with people that drain your energy. I think that's a big issue also. I think setting is just vital.
Psychic vampires, that's very important.
The video that I tagged you in on my Facebook today, and I said, listen to the end of this, was a essential oil that helped you, that helped guard against psychic vampires. I have never heard of an essential oil having to do with that, but I thought that might be interesting to look at, Yeah. So I tagged you in it so you could hear her talk about that. Because when I listened to it, I was kind of in a hurry to start with. So I didn't catch the full thing, but I do know she was saying that you could use it to guard yourself against psychic vampires. It's like, okay.
There's a lot of people out there who haven't learned yet that you don't draw your energy from other people. So that's something you have to be careful of.
Indeed. Indeed. Because that will it pretty much disables you. How in the world can you manifest if your energies are being constantly tapped or drained,
right,
or messed with?
Right.
It's really hard.
Right.
Because
there's a couple little tricks that I've learned and I do quite often. If you're in the room with a psychic vampire and you're well aware of it, you can cross your feet at the ankles. That helps. And you can also fold your hands together, crossing your fingers.
Yes, because you keep your energy going in a circle, yeah.
And that will protect you to a good degree, to keep them from sucking the energy right out of you. And that's something I've gotten in the habit. I do it when I'm with a group of people, like if you're sitting around talking with, friends or just acquaintances, or you happen to be in an area where you're surrounded by a lot of people and you're sitting, like you're watching a show or something. I've gotten in the habit, I automatically do it. I cross my feet at the ankles and I fold my hands. So that's just something really easy to do that will help guard you against that.
That's interesting. I taught Anna that when because she immediately senses when a person is draining her energy. I mean, and she'll react not in a good way to it because she can feel the drain happening. Mm-hmm. I taught her turn her right side, because that's what I had found. If you turn your right side to them, they can't drain you as easily because if your left side is towards them, you're open to them. The left side is the receiving side, the right side is the giving side. So if you've got your right side towards them, then you're shielding yourself. Mm-hmm. And what we would do on the bus, because often they would put her on the side of the bus that her left side was exposed. Mm-hmm. And so what I would do is, you're allowed to stand on the bus if you hold on to the straps. Mm-hmm. And so I would stand with my body against her left side, and that would block her from the the drain that would be going on in the bus. And that's how I didn't know about the crossing your ankles. I did know that if you put your hands together, you get your circular vibration going, and you're stronger. Which is interesting because, what is it in those ninja thingies? You know, they put their hands together. They get that energy flowing in a circle. Interesting. Anyway, yeah.
I also think that, like you were saying, you can't always have your surroundings perfect or the way you even want them. And you may not, like you said, even be aware of the stress that is coming from your situation. So I think it's important for people to remember that be aware first of what is stressing you. You know, try to think about it, take the time to sit there and think, okay, is anything really bothering me? Because if you just ignore it and it just keeps building and building and building, you're not going to be able to manifest anything. You're going to have to be aware of what's stressing you. And the other thing that I think is really important is, okay, if you can, or to whatever degree you can, I think it's important that you use the feng shui methods and try to create the atmosphere to be the best that it could possibly be to pull in the things that you want to attract.
Feng shui makes a big difference.
It does.
Because you're moving energy.
Right.
As does sage.
Yes, saging is very important in cleansing.
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, I think I told you about, speaking of moving things and feng shui, the house I used to live in. I told you how I had removed that one wall to the stairway and opened up the stairway, and the kitchen, moved the cabinets and took out the back door and moved the back door to where another location in the kitchen. And I told you, I think, how there were so many things in that house. But there was a woman in my kitchen.
Yeah.
And she was not a happy woman. I guess she didn't want to share the kitchen, and you know how women can be, no woman wants to share her kitchen. So I guess at some point that woman lived there and that was her kitchen. And she never really was attacking, but I could see her and feel her that she definitely was not happy with me being in that kitchen. And when I rearranged the kitchen and moved everything in the door and stuff, this is the last time I saw her. That night, I went upstairs to give my daughter a drink of water and put her to bed. And I saw the woman in her bedroom. And I was just like, that's weird. She's always in the kitchen. The glass of water was taken out of my hand, thrown in my face, and the cup set down on the floor. And I'm just standing there like, I was like, oh, you did not. Your natural reaction would be to be afraid. Instead of being afraid, I got angry, and I was just like, oh, you did not throw that water in my face.
That's my ninja sister.
I picked the cup up off the floor and I stamped down the steps to the kitchen, and I was so mad. I was like, oh, she did not just do that. And then she was gone, and I never saw her, sensed her, or anything after that.
Wow.
So I guess by redoing the kitchen, I must have disturbed her energy enough, threw her out of the kitchen, so she ended up in the bedroom, and then she was gone. But she got her last revenge on me with that glass of water.
Well, and for her time frame, that was probably a very big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To throw water in somebody's face back then.
That probably was like an ultimate insult or something.
Yes, right. Big extreme. Wow. Yeah, but feng shui and moving energy throughout the apartments, opening windows. not just for health reasons, but for keeping energy moving. For health reasons, it's supposed to be a whole lot healthier, but for energy reasons, supposedly as the wind blows through where you live, it's supposed to help clear stagnant energies and stuff.
Mm-hmm. One thing that really can help with, say you're saging, getting your house all cleansed, if you open windows like on the opposite ends and you get a good wind going outside and you have that wind just blowing through, that can remove so much negativity. I just love when that happens.
Oh, nice, yeah. Now, see, at the apartments that were so bad, we had constant blowing wind through them, which was good and bad. It was good because it was our only cooling system because we couldn't use the air conditioner because it wouldn't fix anything. And it was bad in that it blew all the dirt in our apartment all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know about here because we've never had our windows open here. We moved here in December, and immediately after we moved in here, that bizarre winter that we never have happened here where the temperature was like down in the 30s and freezing, and it's just not the norm for here at all.
Right.
Whereas normally I get to keep my windows open at least at night, every night, but couldn't do that our winter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm curious to see how the wind is going to flow through here. That'll be interesting.
Another thing I like to do is lighting candles. They create an atmosphere, but I also feel, and I'm weird with my candles because I do them in numbers.
Right.
Like I'll do 3 candles or 7 candles or 5 candles. It depends on what I'm doing, and I don't even really think about it. It's like I feel that is the number that needs to be lit.
Right.
And I can go crazy with candles. It's like I'll start, like I'll light 3 candles and put them on the countertop. Then next thing you know, I'm lighting 3 more and I have them in the bedroom. And it's just like,
right.
And I do that until it feels right. I do it totally on how it feels. But it seems to help a lot, and it brings about like a calming, relaxing atmosphere that really seems to help.
Right. Yeah, the number is significant. The color of the candle is significant. The fragrance of the candle is significant. All of that.
Yeah.
I live in government housing, and do you know we are not allowed to burn a candle?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. We can have flameless candles that take a battery, but we are not allowed to light a candle.
I don't know how that would work. That might kind of defeat the purpose, but I don't know. I mean, you got to use what you can use, but...
No, I don't use the others. A lot of... We're not supposed to, but there have been times that I have, like, especially if I'm reading tarot, or if I'm doing I Ching, or, things like that, I name my candle.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to. And if we get caught, we get evicted, So I'm very, very careful. And, but yeah, that's crazy. That's just one of the...
I guess they worry, that someone will burn their place down or something, Because there are some careless people that might light a candle and leave. Who knows?
Well, and in government housing, unfortunately, you have a lot of druggies in a lot of them. Yeah. Thank God where I'm at now is nothing like where I was. Where I was, we did have a lot of druggies, constant drug deals going on. It was crazy. And, if you're messed up all the time and you're knocking over candles, I'm sure that's a real threat. Yeah. Luckily, where I live now, if we have druggies here, I don't know about it. Well, Now I know the lady above me smokes pot because I can smell it come through my vents, and that's a whole different thing from the kind of drugs they were taking where we lived before.
Right.
Which is another drain. Just having that kind of energy surround you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, you knew
even
about
if it's not
that
in your apartment.
that baby, those people that lived above me here, and that crying baby. Oh my God, like 24/7, screaming, crying, about drove me insane. I could barely tolerate it anymore. During that time, I got no work done, no books written. Everything I did, it was like just this horrible negative energy because I was always so upset about that crying baby, and thank God they moved out, but also now I worry about the baby if she's okay or not because I don't know. I said a prayer for her when I found out they were moving, and I
Right.
tried to send all the blessings with her I could, but God help her because
Right.
some people just should not have children. That's all I can say.
Yes. Now, the lady above me now, she is definitely a psychic vampire. I mean, the first time I met her, I told Anna we had met her out in public long before I ever lived under her. I mean, like a year before that, we had run into her. And I told Anna after the first time of talking to her, I was completely drained. And I told Anna, I'm like, God, I hope we never run into that woman again as long as we live. A year later, I'm living under her. And I have to constantly keep myself in check because even from up there, she can drain me if I allow her. She's constantly like moving heavy furniture and doing crazy stuff and, sending her kids down to play in front of my door.
Yeah.
To play outside Anna's window.
Yeah.
So I have to really keep myself in check, because that I could let that drain me, even though she doesn't live in my apartment. But I started praying for her. I'm so glad we're talking about this because I meant to tell you this. I started praying for her, and I was praying that God would relieve her burdens to where she didn't feel that she had to be so nasty. Because, I mean, she's just mean to her kids verbally, just extremely mean, says unbelievable things, and yells and screams at them in front of everybody. God, just, anyway. And so I prayed that she would be relieved, that she would have relief in her burdens, and that she would have relief from the hardships of her life, and that things would get better for her so that she would be a happier person.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she has a little Mustang convertible sports car that isn't old. I don't know how new it is, but it's not old. And so now she has a vehicle where she did not before. And obviously that has got to relieve her burdens. She was always having to find men to go get stuff for her, which of course they did. And that's a whole other story. We won't go there. But now she has a car. And I've seen her get in the car with her kids. I've seen her put the top down and go for rides with her kids in the car.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And what I was going to say, and a boyfriend. I had never seen a steady boyfriend. I mean, but not a steady one. And she had a steady boyfriend up there for like a week and a half, which for her is big deal. And I noticed that when she had the car, when she had the boyfriend, well, she still has the car, but when she had the boyfriend and the car, she wasn't moving furniture. Her kids weren't running wild. I mean, they just run back and forth upstairs, and they weren't doing any of that. I noticed that things just got real calm and real peaceful. I noticed I wasn't having to put shields up so much. And so I was like, now how cool is that? Because that's what I prayed for her. And so when the boyfriend left, then, of course, I started praying even more. Some more. Give her another boyfriend. Something. And I just thought that was interesting. I was praying for her, but I got blessed.
Right, and that's kind of what I was, when the baby lived upstairs. And I just kept going, I was praying for the man and woman that have the baby, that they'd be good parents to the baby would be a happy child, they were great parents, everybody was loving. And I got to the point that's all I was doing though, because there were so many kids in this neighborhood, little ones, just crying all the time. I couldn't get away from it. I was surrounded by crying babies constantly for months. And all I got done was every time I heard a crying baby, I'd be sitting there, praying for them and saying, I live in a peaceful community with loving parents and happy, healthy children, and on and on and on. And it was working. Like when I'd start meditating on it, praying on it, things would calm down. But then it wouldn't last long, half an hour later, it'd be right back again. So I'd have to do it again and again and again. And I spent so much energy and so much time on that I couldn't get anything else done. So.
That's right. And so how do you have the energy to go forward with your own life, with your own evolution, with your own enlightenment, with your own manifesting, when you're spending all of your time trying to keep the peace from messing you up to where you start, manifesting negativity?
Right.
It's Eckhart Tolle tells, let's see, gosh, now I can't remember exactly how the story went. He had been, I'm going to butcher this and I'm sorry, but he had been around somebody who had vented, right? And he, just did his own thing for how he shook off those kind of energies, and he went out to go eat. Well, those energies were still lingering in his space. Aura? Thank you. In his space there, yeah. In his aura. And when he got to the restaurant, all of a sudden, a man came in that was furious, caused a big scene, just, threw things, screamed and yelled. I mean, it was a big scene. And he says in his book, and I don't remember if it's The Power of Now or if it's The New Earth, but in one of his books, he's telling the story. And he said that was a residual from that onslaught of negative energy that he had been exposed to. Eckhart Tolle, I mean, if there's a person on the planet who is relatively in control of their emotions and their situations and all that, it would be Eckhart Tolle. And even him, having been in that setting, in that situation, it carried over to when he went to the restaurant and that big outburst happened at the restaurant.
Yep.
And he related the two. He said they were related.
I have a new message from Anna Joy. Here is the message. Apparently she's got the boyfriend upstairs because the kids are around out there on the scooter.
Oh, God, that's funny. Oh, my God. So anyway, all of that external stuff does affect us.
It does.
And so part of the trick is to get in the best setting that you can with what you've got to work with. Because if you're wasting all of your energy trying to guard off all of that stuff that's going on around you, how in the world do you go forward with anything in your own personal life? Because you're spending all your time, I'm sorry, I think that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think that's something everyone needs to think about and be aware of and keep in their mind and try to create the atmosphere that's most likely to bring to them the things that they're wanting and to give them peace and calmness and serenity and the ability to use their energy for good things that they want to bring in instead of fighting off everything around them continuously, because that'll get you nowhere.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
And not everybody is in the situation where they can remove themselves from what's going on.
Right.
It's like, with me being Anna Joy's 24/7 caretaker, it's not like I could just go somewhere all the time and get away from where we live.
Yep.
Back then when we lived at the Nightmare Place. But people who can, if they are not in a position where they're tied to their home, even going for a walk, in nature can help. Just, de-stress, grounding, getting your feet in the dirt of the earth and grounding yourself. I mean, that's seriously helpful. Hugging trees if you can find one that's not ant-ridden. We had a tree right outside our door, and I wanted to be a part of that tree so bad, but the bugs were so bad on it. If you hugged it, you were full of the bugs, and they bit. So, but yeah, if you're in nature somewhere where you can, be touching nature, then boy, you're way ahead of the game. You've really got a good deal there.
Yeah, and even if you are in a situation like that, you have to find a way. You just have to find a way. Like I bought that big fan, the noisiest thing on the face of the earth. And I put it in my bedroom.
Yes.
Because I hadn't slept for so long because I was so upset by that baby. And you can't, how do you sleep when a baby's crying and screaming like that? You just can't.
Right.
And that fan, I turned that thing on, I couldn't hear nothing, and the couple of times I did hear that baby over that fan, I was irate. I shut that fan off and I stamped out that back door, so I wanted to make sure they heard me, and I was like, this is ridiculous,
Right.
What kind of parent are you,
Yeah.
Because when you can hear a baby crying over top of a fan that sounds like an airplane taking off, something's wrong.
See, that's what we have. We have the wind machine, those big round circular ones that just make a horrendous amount of noise.
Yes.
And that's how we deal with our neighbors. That's how we dealt with them over there, and that's how we deal with Nuthead upstairs. And
yep. Well, that's what I ended up doing. I got one of those, which I can't even hear I play movies to fall asleep, usually something like Frasier or something. I have to use the earplug because I can't even hear that over top of my fan.
That's right. Yep. I know. That's what we did. We used our earplugs and watched our stuff on our tablets when we lived over there.
Yeah.
And we had 2 of them over there because the noise was just unreal. And even with both of them running, there would be a lot of times that they would be sawing or hammering or God knows what the hell they were doing up there to where we could still hear it over our fans. And when I'm with you, and you can hear that kind of stuff over those fans, those wind machines that make a horrendous amount of noise. That ain't right.
No.
And then it got to where, I'd get so tired of hearing that fan all the time that first thing in the morning, when I guess they were passing out from their drugs, those few minutes that it was quiet, and Sunday mornings especially, I would turn off the fan and it was just like, silence. Without a fan going. And I would just drink in those moments of quiet. Just love it. I do that here on Sunday mornings. I used to couldn't sit on my porch, and it just made me crazy when we first moved in here, because the lady next to me, the wind blows towards my apartment from where she's at, and our doors are very close together. And she had a chair outside, and she sat out there. There was no time that I could go out there that she wasn't out there. And so anytime I was trying to go out for just a moment of silence, there she was smoking. And when we had our inspection, they made her get rid of her chair because you're not allowed to have chairs outside that are not actual patio furniture. I have a chair that is, and I take mine in and out because if I left it out, there'd be nothing left of it. So I take it out with me when I go, and I bring it in with me when I come back in. And but now she's not outside ever. I can go outside any time in the morning now, and it's quiet out on my porch because she's gone and there's no cigarette smoke, and I'm like, oh, yay! And I can go out there now and sun gaze because where I live now is perfect for sun gazing because my front door faces, like, all I have to do is turn sideways and the sun is coming up.
Oh.
And so I can sun gaze right there from my door, which is just amazing. And so now that she's not out there, I can go out, take my little chair and sit in quiet and watch the sun come up. It's so nice. I love that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the problems at the old apartments. You know, I sun gazed in the evenings, and the problem was every time I went out.
New message from Anna Joy. Here is the message. The phone's not working, and the text isn't working. I don't know why.
And I would have to go off property and just stand on the corner of the street to sun gaze because for some reason, if you were sitting out there looking at the sun, it was like you had this big invitation written on your face, come talk to me and bother me. You know, and so the kids and the adults alike were in your face when you were trying to sun gaze.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Well,
I got your message.
I guess we got our message out for today.
Yeah.
Be aware of your surroundings. Watch out for psychic vampires. Check your feng shui. Make sure everything's set up for optimal purpose. And again, anybody listening, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think.
Let us know how you manage your surroundings, how you manage to control yourself from energy vampires, to protect yourself from them, or to control the atmosphere within your home, or any of that stuff, or how you deal with crazy neighbors. Anything you have that you could share that would be helpful, that would be great. We'd love to hear it.
That's right. All right. Well, have a great day, and you go take care of Anna, and I'll talk to you after that.
Okay, I love you, sis. I'll meet you on Facebook.
Love you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.